we'll talk a little about a report on the energy situation in the world for the next days. Before I go specifically on the information I received, I would like to explain a little about how it works. The report is a forecast based on information accessed through contacts with extra-dimensional intelligences, terrestrial and extraterrestrial, and contacts with my higher self, and is not a kind of divination or projection external events, but it is a report about the energy climate of planet Earth, so-called Telamaranthia, primarily in respect to the Earth's interaction with the Sun, such as solar energy pulses and planetary are behaving, the tonic these pulses have, and what the possible effects humanity's consciousness. A logical consequence of this, of course, is information about how bearing, in the face of situations that are generated by this energy climate. The information that I convey in the report, I access this synthetically through a code that is generated in my soul, with the help of ASIL guiding Vegaliana team Nazcan. Then I decodifico, translate and interpret based on intuition and information that I have the conscious level. The report is generated from this process. So, this last Saturday night I received the codes regarding the coming days for this week. AB 243-90215. During this week we have two very important moments, two energetic events. Although they are moments in our time, they extend beyond the point in time where the energy event happens. We have an energy event on Wednesday 1409, and this energetic event is a planetary pulse. It is a pulse that comes from the heart of the Earth, the crystalline core of our planet. He is already a response to a solar pulse that happened days ago, last week. It is a response to the energy climate, psychic, of course, with regard to the whole planet, but our focus is humanity, the result of how humanity has responded to this energy environment. Then on Wednesday this planetary pulse is emanated. It's a really pulsar, a radiance from the heart of the Earth. We already have the climate of this planetary pulse from today. Then I'll talk a little about the elements that are related to this planetary pulse Wednesday. First, starting today and especially on this day, on Sunday, the first move to this planetary pulse is happening, and it is aimed at upper layers of what we call psychic levels, both the astral and the mental. At this level, these upper layers, a more internal level, this movement is a deconstruction of power, expansion, and therefore there is a break of veils in the ethers. It is an energy that can be both unstructured, as expansion, and it will depend on how each one is open to this movement. This is a very strong planetary pulse. We will understand more of the nature of this planetary impulse when we talk about the solar wrist. Another element which is part of the planetary pulse and that will work more preponderance in the second 1209 is a smoothing element, of which force is represented by a vowel. This force represented by the vowel A, which is an impulse that is part of this emanation, this energy radiation of the planet that is restructuring or breakdown, depending on how we respond to it, comes with a smoothing element. This smoothing element B focuses on the external front, in the outer layers of the psychic and light level, the plan of action, the objective plane. It aims to adjust the planetary external conditions that impulse, because he is very strong, so that the expression of this energy pulse, this planetary irradiation, is more fluid, especially the effect it has on humanity. Because it is necessary to consider that humanity mostly not consciously respond to these radiations. On the contrary, or responds with reactivity or respond with apathy. So this is another element which forms part of the planetary pulse. Once, on Tuesday 13/09, a striking element is added to this construction energy environment for the climax time of irradiation on Wednesday: opposition, mood and tension. exposure of this tension may happen through the human action. This tension and opposition that may be somewhat hidden or veiled way each of us tends to express itself through human action. But there is also the possibility of resolution if consciousness is attuned to the highest levels. That is, if you connect to these higher levels, you will experience that first element that is part of this impulse that comes from the planet is restructuring and expansion, as a fiery energy, which heats and therefore leaves more flexible structure. If not, what will result when this pulse is opposition and conflict? Then on Wednesday it happens, this radiation. I do not have a specific time in which this is because it is an energetic event, but its glance is between 16H and 19H GMT. This planetary pulse is governed by what we the ELV calls center planetarian Marui. Using a more universal language, this planetary pulse of the seventh chakra of the planet or the seventh ray of the planet and unfolds as follows. Making a summary of what I said about the early days is the construction of the energy climate for this pulse planetary. In the top psychic plane is a harmony of impulse and the lower is intelligent action, but if there is no tuning the conflict exacerbates and outer action expresses this inherent confusion. So we have this situation until Wednesday. On Saturday 1709 it is when it happens, the solar pulse, and then you need to understand that this planetary pulse is already an answer to the solar wrist. Because the relationship is not one-sided, it is simultaneous and successive. Right now the planet is already manifesting signs of this movement going on in the sun, that is, the construction of this radiation is going to happen on Saturday. So this planetary pulse Wednesday is already a prior response to solar wrist on Saturday because it aims to prepare for the solar wrist on Saturday. This solar wrist on Saturday is both cause and response energy condition on our planet. Because what is emanating from the sun is a response to the conditions and needs of the planet, while the conditions and needs of the planet are the result of how the interaction with the solar power grid has been happening in recent times. So these things are very intricate, they are well attached, is not just a linear relationship, is successive and simultaneous. Even because when we speak this energy reality set in that linearity is very foolish. So despite talk of days, actually it is happening now. For us in our temporal reality there is a summit, and this summit is marked on Wednesday by the planetary pulse and on Saturday the solar wrist. The energy of the solar wrist on Saturday is already so intertwined now, and the situation is being built at that time. Of course, it unfolds from Saturday. Just like a wave that rises and falls. Do not see this as an isolated arrow. But look like a wave. So we're on the way up the wave. So now it becomes understandable energy going to act on Thursday. I mean, with a preponderance, because all these energies are actually acting this now. So they are also waves, they are present, but there is a time when they take precedence. And on Thursday 09/15 to the planetary pulse is integrated consciousness ensures assimilation of the solar wrist in a healthy way. So if this process is going to Wednesday is absorbed, integrated harmoniously, is ensured for the consciousness there, then the integration of solar wrist healthy way. Because the impulse of this Thursday's agreement born of contemplation, this is the key energy Thursday, which is represented by the number 9. It is a state of no internal opposition, but not born of rationality, not born of the desire not oppose, but born of contemplation. This contemplation is the result of the harmonious integration of planetary pulse, because the planetary pulse consists of an impulsive element, igneous, which deconstructs. An aqueous element, a facilitator aspect. And a member which can be opposing or maybe tuner. So if consciousness thins with this planetary pulse, the result is contemplation, The result is what the code I received is represented by the number 2. So if the integration of planetary pulse, consciousness, to be an agreement born of contemplation, ensures healthy assimilation of the solar pulse reaches its peak on Saturday. If not, apathy settles harder to contain the destructive potential, because that possibility of opposition and tension Tuesday. So how blister responsive the planet itself, because we are talking about humanity as a whole, then you imagine these energies affecting the head of people who are responsible for very serious things, important, affecting the lives of millions of people. On Friday 1609 energy tonic, that multiple mesh that is formed by the intertwining of the aura energy field, solar and planetary aura, which involves our human consciousness, is a boost to amalgamate, union boost cooperation as a result of Thursday's energy. That is, that agreement born of contemplation tends to express itself on the physical plane by an impulse to amalgamate. The internal agreement then goes on to express how joint action. That's the potential, is a possibility. If there is distortion in the reception of energy pulse, apathy is reinforced with alienation and the need to indulge in frivolities as a form of distraction. So you see a co-creator potential and dispersive potential as were to maintain, to sustain the minimum balance of the human psychic plane. So this is the 6th point. And then on Saturday we have the summit, which is the solarist. This solar pulse is emanated by the 8th round of the sun, part of the 8th chakra of the sun that is represented by the archangel Xodiel, and also, in the terminology of ELV, the center planetarium in Turricortena. The influence of solar pulse has already been felt since last week and will continue until the first days of next week. Probably this impulse will generate physical reflexes as coronal mass ejections, because this Saturday brings solarists as if they were molecular changes, seeds of biological life on the planet. The energy performance of the sun relative to the earth, in the period we are living in, this comes from the end of last year I think, although it was not sure of this information, has been focusing increasingly on a mutation of biological form preparando the next cycle. Then the energy is also acting in genetic, molecular level, promoting small changes. The solar clock Saturday is directly related to another solar pulse that will probably happen in the equinox period. And this wrist solar equinox will be a large solarist and planetarium, a strong irradiation with genetically modifying potential. At the same time, the solarist on Saturday is already a preparation for the psychic atmosphere and of course the Earth's energy to the equinox. It will be a time when the planet will be in perfect alignment with the sun and the strength of the solar impulse it will be much higher. So basically these are the information contained in the report. This is a test. Depending on the response that this report will, if it represent any real use for those engaged in energy work, probably the reports continue. If not, if only more information not utilized, there will be a second,